This is Talking Devils, your favourite Manchester United podcast. I'm on double duty today. Wayne Barton, joined usually by Manchester United legend Paul Parker, as I was this morning, but happy to be joined by another legend, at least in my lifetime anyway. Former Manchester United goalkeeper Kevin Pilkington, and current Barnsley coach, goalkeeping coach Kevin Pilkington. How are you doing, Kev? You all right?
I'm very well, thank you. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm just about coming down from the Ronaldo hype. I had 2 weeks of hysteria, and I calmed down. And then I went to the match, and it was all a buzz. It was a little bit like Cantona coming back, in '95. That's the closest thing I've got to it. And obviously, it was mental on Saturday, absolutely mental.
The atmosphere looks incredible. Would love to have been there myself.
Yeah, well, you're working now. You're working man, so some of us can toss it off at the game. Yeah. If you're watching, please give it a like. As you can tell, my voice is still a bit patchy from it. I was just about recovered this morning. Yesterday, I could not talk at all, which you can imagine Stacey was very happy about. So if you're watching on YouTube live, please give it a like and subscribe. Even if you're not watching live, you can do that. If you're watching on Facebook and YouTube, get your comments into Kev. I'm sure he'll be happy to answer a few questions even. Before we get going, a couple of things about the videos that are on the channel. Lee Lawrence did a great video last Friday with Phil Marsh, where he spoke about training against Ronaldo for the first time since Ronaldo came over when he was Lee had just won the Youth Cup in 2003, and Ronaldo came over, and their first training session was against each other. Lee tried to tackle him. Ronaldo flicked the ball over his head, put it in the top corner. Lee asked if he could come off. And obviously this podcast with Paul this morning, where we talked about the Newcastle game, as we will be doing in a moment. Before we get started on the United stuff, Kevin, mixed season for Barnsley so far. Obviously, you're a coach at Barnsley now, goalkeeping coach specialist there. There was a crazy game a couple of weeks ago where you had a last-minute penalty against you, and the keeper saved it. But yeah, a little bit mixed. Other than that.
Yeah, we had an unbelievable season last year, finishing the playoffs, losing in the semis to Swansea. Just incredible run. Really enjoyed it. The old manager left, got a new manager in, trying to implement his style now, which takes a little bit of time. So hopefully we'll pick up soon and we're back on a good run.
Yeah, how are you enjoying the coaching?
Yeah, love it. I never thought it was something I would get into, but since I've been doing it for about 10 years now, and just thoroughly enjoyed it. Just passing on your knowledge and your experience to other goalkeepers, and working with some top goalkeepers as well. Past Man United goalkeeper with Roy Carroll, who I get on really well with and speak to him quite a lot. So meeting different people, coaching different people, but thoroughly enjoying it.
Yeah, well, you've definitely got great education there to pass on, and you're such a sort of grounded kind of guy that can pass that kind of stuff on as well. Over the years, people who are watching this might not know, but I've known Kevin for a long time. When we first set up websites and wanted to get former players involved, Kevin was the very first guy who got involved with that, and I'm so deeply appreciative of all of the assistance he's given me in my own career. But one thing I've been pestering you about over the years is whether or not you're ever going to retire. And I think I've missed something over the last couple of years where I think you've slipped quietly into retirement.
Yeah, no, that's all done and dusted now. I think the body's finally caught up. I had a good go at it to play and train as long as I could. I think my last game was at 43, so I was quite happy with that. So just. It's a different sort of buzz now, but I do miss the playing and the training a hell of a lot.
But you're on record as now being the last member of the class of '92 to officially retire, because you played your last professional game after everyone. So I said it, I called it a while back, and I just wanted to be able to say it. Do you know what I mean? I've been bugging you all that time. Yeah. All right, let's get into it. Let's talk about Ronaldo. Obviously, he's the talk of football. Is that the case around the professional club as well? In your experience, is everyone talking about it?
Especially last week. The week he signed, everyone was the talk of it, him going to City. And I was like, no way, he won't go there, he won't go there. And then obviously, when it all kicked off on when it was announced it was coming back to United, everyone was talking about it. And then obviously he goes and does what he does at the weekend. He does what Ronaldo does, scores 2 goals and puts in a very, very impressive performance. And everyone's saying what a legend he is. There's always the comparison, Messi and Ronaldo. Obviously, I'm biased, but in my eyes, it's Ronaldo. And you see, he's gone and done it in different countries, different leagues. Always performed, always won trophies. He's undoubtedly for me the best that there is out there at the moment.
On that theme, do you reckon that there's an argument there to say, in the time that he's got left at United, and he's sort of saying that he's coming out with all the right things at the moment? I belong to Manchester. It looks like he's going to stay for the rest of his career. I mean, you could never know for sure, but it looks like that. Whether that's 2, 3, or 4 years, is there enough time in the time that's left for him to cement his legacy as the club's greatest ever?
Yeah, I think so. I think he's halfway there, if not more than halfway there at the moment. It's very hard to put comparisons into past players like your Best, your Lords, your Charltons, because it's a different era, a different brand of football. But the stats that he's got, it's was it 800 goals he's got around that mark. It's what an achievement that is. So I think he's got every chance of putting it out there that the best ever. But like I say, it's a hard comparison to make. I mean, even in the world of football, you look at the Pele and the Maradonas. It's a different era, so it's a very tough one to say. But in my eyes, at the moment, he's the best out there.
Yeah, a couple of comments coming in. David, top interview, lads. Love your work, Wayne. Thank you. Should compliment Kev as well. Don't just give me the compliment for that, but appreciate it. Jason Prime, Saturday was amazing. Felt Manchester United were box office again. Kevin, come on. That's a really good comment, right? I mean, United are box office anyway because they attract the headlines no matter what, high or low. They're always the headline club. But that box office comment, that's a really good point because the eyes of the world are on United, and I've been describing it as like the best, the biggest transfer of all time. But Saturday was like an international event, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's like I say, I've not heard Old Trafford, and obviously it was. I was watching on the telly on Match of the Day in the evening, but I've not heard Old Trafford like that for a long time. Back to when Sir Alex was in charge. So for that to be the catalyst for it, it's incredible. Like I say, it was goosebumps when you listen to him come out onto the pitch, and obviously when he scored the 2 goals. I watched it again this morning just to soak up the atmosphere a little bit more, and like I say, hopefully I will be able to get up there at some point to go and see the big man play. I've never seen him play live, so it'd be incredible to go and watch him live.
Yeah, but is that, isn't it? It's like an experience now because of who he is and what he's achieved in the game, and like the fact that he's won all these Ballon d'Ors, the fact that he's come back to United. I sort of said it was like Puskas signing for United. Do you know what I mean? A world great, like you said Pele earlier. It is a little bit like that, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Like I say, the closest thing that I've come to it is like I say you said earlier, Cantona, because he was that inspiration, that like just an ego about him as well. But to see him go out and do what he did, I think it helped as well that he went and scored the 2 goals, and United went and won the game 4-1. And there was some really good performances out on the pitch, not just Cristiano Ronaldo.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one thing we talked about with Paul earlier on the pod, that the theory is that Ronaldo being there is going to free space up for other players, and Pogba obviously created another couple of goals. Fernandes scored that great goal as well, and you just think that hopefully it'll create some space for other players. I think Ronaldo pulling off one of the markers created the space. It might have been for Fernandes' goal actually, so there's obviously going to be a massive benefit.
Yeah, and everyone wants to reach his standard as well. Everyone will see his standard. I think I saw something about Lee Grant saying about not eating pudding the night before, and it's just things like that that gets people to another level. Seeing someone as professional as what he is, it drags other people along with him.
Yeah, it's literally the Cantona effect. It's what you had on your group, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
While you're here, got to get your take on the goalkeeping situation at United at the moment. De Gea's got his shirt. He's doing really well. An incredible save against Wolves a couple of weeks ago, and a good save at the weekend as well when it was 2-1. I think he saved it. Henderson, obviously, a keeper with great potential and a lot of talent for the now as well, not just potential. And obviously, he was the number one at the back end of last season. I think COVID has basically given De Gea this reprieve. But Solskjaer's obviously the kind of manager who will keep faith with a player who's doing good form. What's your take on who should be number one at the moment?
I think it's a really tough one. Obviously, David De Gea has been an unbelievable servant for Manchester United. He's right up there with the best when he's performing. And Dean's come in and done very, very well. He's had some great loans. He's gone away and played some good football at other football clubs, especially Sheffield United. They had a great season there when they're in the Premiership. But at the moment, it's the man who's got the shirt. He's performing. He's doing his job. But he will get pushed along like Dean and Tom Heaton as well. Two very, very good keepers in their own right. But like I say, at the moment, he's doing the business. So I'm sure that Ollie will see that and he'll stick with him for the foreseeable future if he keeps producing the goods.
Is it a good or a bad thing that United have got two keepers of this standard who could be first choice? I mean, you talked about Roy Carroll earlier, and I think he's a great example because we had Roy and Tim Howard, both really good goalkeepers, but it didn't help either of them in the long run. And Fergie, unusually for him, would drop one after a few games and pull the other one in. You don't want to be in that situation because it kind of undermines everything that United are building at the back at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. I think he'll see that David De Gea is performing, and he'll stick with it. It's hard as a goalkeeper. There's only one position you can play in, and if you're consistent, you'll stay in the team, and that's what you want as a goalkeeper as well. You want to be trusted. You want to know that if you're performing and doing the job, you want to be staying in the team, even in the cup competitions. For me, I wouldn't want to be left out when I was playing. Obviously not at United, but at other clubs, I wanted to play every single game. So yeah, if David De Gea is performing, then I don't see any reason why he should be left out of the team.
Are you along with that? I mean, for the Champions League games, obviously there was a lot of rotation. There has been for maybe 3 or 4 years, going back to, was it Mourinho, basically, or maybe even Van Gaal? You know, there was a European goalkeeper. We never really had that under Fergie. I don't think he ever did that.
No.
Something that came under the recent managers. Would you be inclined to sort of say I mean, obviously they're calling, the Carabao Cup is a different kettle of fish. They'll rotate the full team for that. But in the European games, would you say just keep the first choice?
Yeah, definitely. If they're performing, then yeah, it's the biggest competition in the world, isn't it? It's the Champions League. Everyone wants to win the Champions League now, along with the Premiership. So you've got to put your best players out there. Obviously, if you've qualified, if you get the group sorted early, then maybe a chance of rotating it then. But up until then, I'll be playing my best players.
Yeah, Jason says, great to see De Gea bounce back after the criticism he got for the Europa League penalties. Yeah, absolutely. He won us the 2 points against Wolves 2 weeks ago. And that's a good point, actually, because at the start of the season, everyone was going on about the penalties and suddenly they've forgotten about it all of a sudden, which probably shows you a lot about the fickle nature of fans. David asks, for Kevin, when at United with Schmeichel in front of you, did you ever think that you would replace him and win your place? And if not, when did you realise it was time to move on?
Yeah, it was a tough one. I had the best goalkeeper in the world in front of me. Played a handful of games, played eight times for the first team, and I knew every time that I played that if Peter was fit, that he'd go straight back into the team, no matter how I performed. He was the best goalkeeper in the world at the time, so I fully understood that. I think if it had been a different era when I knew that I didn't have the best in the world in front of me, I thought I might have had a better chance. I really knew that my time was up at United, mainly when Raymond van der House signed. Yeah. I was actually away on holiday, and it was the time when they were trying to sign Shearer. And I was sat around the pool, and there were some United fans there, and there was, we've just signed someone. I thought, oh, brilliant, we signed Shearer. And then I turned around and said, no, we signed goalkeeper Raymond van der House. I was like, oh, that's great, thanks a lot. Just ruined my holiday. And so, the year before, I got Player of the Year in the reserves as well. So yeah. It wasn't like I wasn't performing. So yeah, that was realistically when I knew it was time that I had to try and go out and carve a career for myself somewhere else, because I wouldn't have got the game time at United that I wanted to prove to myself that I could go out and play first team football. So yeah, I think it was a year or 2 years after that I went to Port Vale.
Yeah, I think for anyone who wants to know more about Kevin's story, it's in the book. Cheap plug for Fergie's Fledgling, your story in that. But he's talking about your luck with Van der Haar. It really went back into the previous season because you were playing so well, and Schmeichel picked up a few injury notes, and you were getting the most games that he'd ever had, basically.
Yeah.
And he did get man of the match against Chelsea, but he played quite well in that one. But then,
I did well. Yeah, I did well in that game. Yeah. I think it was only the York game that I really let myself down.
But that was
first team. So I think apart from that, the other games that I played in, I think I held my own. But yeah, so I just realised that I was never going to get like now the rotation. You see, like say the cup games, you could have got a good run in the Carabao or Carling or whatever it was back then, but that wasn't even the case back then. So
yeah, Dave says cheers, Kev. Still lived the dream though, top man, and he absolutely did.
Yeah, I keep my wife keeps reminding me of it. Like sometimes you play it down. It's like we were talking about Emma Raducanu at the weekend, and I was listening to the radio and saying, "What were you doing when you was 18 years old?" I was like, actually, I was playing in the FA Youth Cup for Manchester United. I said, and I turned around to my wife and said, "Oh, well, but it's not winning the US Open." She said, "Like, don't put yourself down. You've still played for the biggest club in the world. You've still made an appearance, or 8 appearances for the biggest club in the world. So don't never ever like doubt yourself or put yourself down." So
in one of the most exciting seasons in the club's history, you played the majority of them. You didn't let yourself down.
Yeah.
And we've talked about it before, and anyone again wanting to check out Kevin's story in detail. I think what the biggest issue for you wasn't your own form; it was the fact that Peter kept getting injured, so they had to bring in a more senior replacement, which was Tony Cohen, which he never played a single game, but it turned out to. I think it booked Peter's ideas up, didn't it? You know.
Yeah. And
Jason Prime asks, with the competition so fierce between De Gea and Henderson, do you think they get on well together?
I'd imagine so. Well, I hope so, because the goalkeeping union is a very, very close group. I've met Dean on a few occasions. He's a confident boy, and he backs his ability. But at the same time, you've got to back whoever's playing, because you want the team to do well. But you might be wanting them to win 5-4, but you still want the team to win. But I always found it that if I wasn't in a team, I'd treat the goalkeeper who was playing how I'd like to be treated. Because there's no point just tossing off training sessions, because I'm getting nothing out of it, you're getting nothing out of it, and I wouldn't want it the other way around if I was playing. And say your service and stuff like that, just just dolly and servicing. I want to be worked. So yeah, I'd like to think they would get them, but I'd imagine at the highest level that there would be that little bit of edginess about it.
Yeah, as an academy player, someone who came through the system, how happy are you to see what's happening with Jesse Lingard? He was in the wilderness, had a few personal problems, looked like he was going to go. I think most people associated with United supporters and at the club probably thought it would be the right time for him to move on. I certainly thought for Jesse's own benefit, there's not going to be a lot of game time. But then he came on. He has had a chance, and he's taken that chance. He scored at the weekend a really good goal as well. And I guess there's two questions in there. One, do you think it's probably time he did move on? But on the other hand, how happy are you that he came on and did so well?
I'm delighted for him. He comes across as a lovely kid, really, really nice guy. And you want to see them do, like the lads who are coming through the academy, you want to see them all do well and continue their careers at Manchester United. That's what I grew up with. You see, you keep harping back to it, the class of '92. You see how long they had unbelievable careers at United, and 3 or 4 of them stayed there for life. And that's what you like to see, that they've got a passion for the football club. Obviously, he's had his problems in the past. He went off to West Ham last season. Incredible what he did there. Did unbelievably well for West Ham. But ultimately, he's a very, very talented player. You look at him when he plays for England. He always produces when he plays for England. And hopefully, let's say again, Cristiano Ronaldo back in the fold. I think they're good mates as well. And you want to see him. I think he'll, like I say, he'll have that kick on effect. He'll drag people along with him. And like I say, Jesse Lingard at the weekend, come on, scoring a fantastic goal, and hopefully that's him for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, couple of little stats before we get on to the next point. So we'll talk about the game tomorrow. A lot of people don't actually know this, but you talked about Raymond van der Houw coming in. He didn't actually play the first reserve game of the season after that. We signed 5 players that summer. Karel Poborský, Ronnie Johnson, Jordi Cruyff, Van der Houw, and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, a little-known reserve striker. You mentioned Alan Shearer. Solskjaer was brought in to bolster the reserves. And on the first game of the season, Solskjaer scored twice, went straight into the first team, never looked back. Quick question for the senior player who was in the team, Eric Cantona. Jason Prime asks, "Hi Kev, did you ever face a Cantona penalty in training? And if so, how did you get on?"
Yeah, I saved a couple, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah. Just again, you look at I think he was the first one to do it, where he waited to see which way the goalkeeper was going to go. And
yeah,
it's Jorginho now doing it. Obviously, Pogba does it every now and again. And I just gamble, just try and just fake one way and go back the other. And lucky enough to save a couple in the training sessions, but that's about it. Yeah,
love it. Maybe that's what because he started missing a couple, didn't he? Later on, maybe you put him off.
Yeah,
we'll blame you for that. Although it all came good in the end for Eric. The other little bit of sort of trivia I've got for people watching and listening: United are at Young Boys tomorrow, and a little bit of history for anyone who doesn't know their relevance to Manchester United. After Munich, United were invited to take part in the European Cup the following season, and they weren't allowed to. But their first round tie had already been drawn, and they were drawn against Young Boys. So Young Boys, because United's financial situation was so bad, they'd got a buy into the next round, but they offered to play the tie anyway, the 2-legged tie. And so United actually played that tie as a friendly in the first weeks of the following season. So it has a strange place in United history that I know we played against them a couple of years ago, but I always remember that very weird, unique relationship that we've got with them, because they were desperate to play against United, and they did. They won the first leg 2-0. United actually won the second leg 3-0, so they overcame it they would have qualified for the next round. And Wolves, who were the champions, were eliminated in the first round. So United would have still been the furthest advancing team even after Munich, which is just a crazy little place in United history. But yeah, it's going to be a different kettle of fish tomorrow. I don't think young boys are anywhere near as strong as they were back in those days, whereas United have suddenly been propelled into one of the front runners, one of the not favourites for the competition, but certainly in the contenders there that you think they're going to get through to the last stages. So you would think they're going to get off to a good start tomorrow.
Yeah, I think so. Like I say, I think there'll be a very, very strong team out there again on tomorrow night. Can't see Ronaldo not playing again because he wants to play in the biggest tournaments that are going. So I'd imagine he would. So yeah, I can see a strong team being put out. And like I said earlier, you want to get the group stages done as soon as possible. So why wouldn't you put out your strongest team to try and get that done, win the first 3 games, and then it's near enough done then. But yeah, again, there's no easy games, but it's one that we should be expecting to win.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that you still call us we.
Yeah.
I love that. That's the impact that United have on you, isn't it? Right?
It's incredible. It really is. It's what like I never thought before I went up there I'd come away a Man United fan, and it's what it does to you. It's incredible. I've been fortunate enough to be invited back a lot of times to play in the Legends games and stuff like that, and it's a family, and I just feel part of it as well. So very lucky.
The thing that having known you for a while now, I was so buzzed for you because we talked about the new campaign that you travelled there in '94 and got so close but so far. And then when you got to play against the Barcelona legends and played against Rivaldo, I was so buzzing for you, I was so made up. And it's like, it is a little bit of compensation, really, because it's the experience of still being able to play. I mean, because obviously Rivaldo wasn't in that team, so that would have been your chance to play against him. That must have been crazy.
Yeah, it was like when I went there and I was on the bench, we got beat 4-0. I think most Man United fans remember it.
Yeah.
Risto Stoichkov and
Romario.
Yeah. And I come off of the pitch and I thought, that'll do me. I've warmed up on the pitch. I've trained on the pitch. That'll do me. Then to get the invite a couple of years ago from United, I was bouncing around the ceilings in the house, and it was incredible. And for my wife to come over with me as well, and be treated how we were by everyone, made to feel so welcome by everyone, and to get invited back to other events, it's like I say, it's special. It's such a special football club.
Yeah, it couldn't have happened to a nicer fellow as well. One last question, Dave Murphy says, sorry for joining late. He hosts one of the other shows on Sundays with Scott Wootton. Good old Davo joining late. He says, sorry if it's been asked. He hasn't, don't worry. With De Gea's form putting him as number 1, do you see a situation where Dean Henderson's sent on loan in January?
If De Gea keeps up his form, it wouldn't surprise me at all, because there's a very good backup in Tom Heaton there as well. But it wouldn't surprise me if Dean Henderson would ask to go out and play some games, because for his career and for his England career as well. Because you see like Sam Johnson being in the squad a lot at the moment, which buzzing for Sam, another great guy, and a very, very good goalkeeper. So yeah, I'm sure that if he's not getting the game time by January, it would be one of them things that he'd has to do.
What's your predictions for the weekend game? Obviously, got West Ham. Antonio's suspended. It's going to be a place where they love to hate Ronaldo, but Ronaldo loves to score against them. He's had a good record against them in the past. Obviously, it seems like a good time to play them, although they're doing quite well. But with their top scorer injured, suspended, it's going to be a little bit easier than it would have been.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough game. I think David Moyes will have a point to prove with United, but I do still see a win for United. I'm going to say a 3-1.
I like it, like the optimism, and I'm grateful for you sticking your neck out and giving that prediction, because whenever anyone asks me, I always find a way to dodge it. So a bit braver than what I am with that. That's it for this week, guys. Really appreciate Kevin's time on a Monday night to join us and talk a little bit about the goalkeeping situation and a few of his memories as well. If you enjoyed the show, please give it a like and subscribe. Leave us a nice review on Apple Podcasts if you're listening back on audio as well. We'll be back soon. The next show on the YouTube channel is going to be Keen on Friday with Lee Lawrence and Phil Marsh. Until then, stay safe, stay well, and thanks for listening and watching. Cheers.